Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Marketplace Report by Handmade Seller Magazine. This is a new series that we're starting where we interview different artisan marketplaces where you can sell your products. The purpose of this is to give you a little more of the origin story and help you see some of the people behind these marketplaces so that it doesn't feel like you're selling through a nameless, faceless platform. So today's guest is Edward Fisher Jr., and he is one of the founders of My Community Made. So welcome to the show today. And Edward, can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to be here. So, I am a web developer and internet marketer from Wales, Massachusetts, a tiny little town. So, I've been helping small businesses with their marketing for a very long time. Well, 5 years, not too long. And my wife is actually a potter. So, she's been a professional potter for a long time. And she was selling on Etsy. So, around the time that COVID happened, I learned a little bit about how handmade selling online works. And I found it kind of interesting, specifically the parts related to the transaction fees, the listing fees. So as she was telling me about it, I thought I could probably build a website that does a lot of these same processes for no cost, really. We could really reduce the price and we could help out local businesses. So right around the time that COVID happened, I started working on the platform and we came up with some ground rules right away. So we knew that no matter what we did, we wanted no transaction fees, no shipping fees. We wanted a really bare bones fee structure. And that kind of is how we started the site. So eventually we launched in 2022. We worked really hard to sort of build up our initial customer base. And yeah, that's how we started.
hmm Nothing like starting from the ground up during COVID of all times. And so now tell us a little bit more about what countries, locations, what kind of categories can be sold on your marketplace.
Definitely. So we're 100% focused on the handmade and vintage categories, right? So all products on the site have to be designed by the person selling them, right? So we can't have any products that are resold from a different company. We don't allow any trademark infringement of any kind,
Mhm.
so the products have to be completely unique to the person selling them. And all products have to be made in the US. So we actually are limited to only the US, no sellers from outside the US, no customers outside the US. So our whole platform is just dedicated to handmade and vintage products within the United States.
Mhm. And then what kinds of categories of products? Are there any particular category type limitations? Can you share what the kind of key categories are that are typically sold on the platform?
Yeah, so our biggest categories right now are mostly handmade jewelry, candles, soap. We allow pretty much all types of handmade products, but those are our best sellers. We are we the only restrictions we really have are on products that are like subscription boxes or anything where it's not super clear what the user is getting, right? So
Okay.
we want to make sure that it's a tangible product that is physical, that will go through the mail, or a digital product, or there's a download. We know that the user's gotten the product, and that it makes it clear if a return request is made whether or not the product that was sold matches with what the customer purchased. But outside of that, we're really happy to have any type of product listed on the site as long as it follows those rules.
hmm Okay, fantastic. So, do you discover that you mentioned a few of the niches? Are there specific ones that talk more about what's done the best so far on your platform?
The product category that's done the best would actually be fine art. So we've actually
Oh,
got kind of in a specific niche with paintings, pretty
ah,
expensive paintings as well. Yeah, for it might be the way that we show our images, the nice large product listings. They've done pretty well in the past. So we actually have a nice little community of painters that has grown on the platform, and they've done very well. Soap has done very well as well, and so has jewelry. But I think the painting is probably the niche that we kind of outperform on.
very interesting. So then, it, it, you know, the story around a lot of marketplaces, you get started in the market and then things kind of evolve, right?
Yeah,
Nothing ever looks 100% like it did the day it launched. And people could actually see you at any point in the journey. So now, can you share a little bit more about how the marketplace worked when it first launched versus how it's evolving into what it looks like today so that people can kind of catch up with Well, in case you saw it at one point in time, you might have seen this evolution of it. It's a pretty typical story for a lot of marketplaces. So share where you began and now how it's evolved.
Yeah, so when we started, we had a very complex product listing system. Right, that was probably the number one complaint. So I had
Hmm.
set up a sellers group for sellers to kind of tell me what they were having problems with the site. And pretty much the number one complaint was that there was way too many fields that they had to fill out. And part of the reason for that is you can control the SEO on our site. So we have metadata, we have tags, we have a ranking system that will tell you how well you're doing with your SEO. We have analytics, and all that data was shown in kind of a confusing way. So the number one change that's anyone who's worked with us over the last 2 years will notice is that now when you're listing a product, we've cut those fields pretty much in half. Only a single description field. Instead of filling out individual shipping settings, you just put the weight of the product and you decide if you want free shipping or if you want calculated shipping at checkout. If you choose that calculated shipping at checkout, we have USPS Ground Advantage rates auto calculated for you. So there's no more confusion anymore with figuring out your shipping. Uh, Though that's the biggest change. Other than that, there's the changes we made to the platform stylistically. We've improved the search quite a bit. It used to have kind of I don't want to say an outdated design, but it's come a long way. I'll say that a lot of improvements.
Oh, so now how did that talk a little bit more about your fee structures? Everyone's always, especially small businesses, everybody's kind of keeping an eye on cost. And so if somebody's saying, well, I'm kind of curious, how do your fees work? So speak a little bit more to the fee structures and how those exist on your platform.
Yeah, so the fees are my favorite part. We have no fees except for we actually have no fees if you want to sign up for free. So we have a very generous free tier.
Hmm.
You are charged nothing at all, but you're limited to only listing 5 products at a time. So you sign up for that free plan. You don't have to worry about shipping fees. You don't have to worry about the transaction fees, listing fees. We have none of that. If you really love our platform, and I want to encourage people to use the free plan. And then if you really love our platform, you can upgrade for
Hmm.
$5 a month to list up to 50 products at a time.
Hmm.
And if you really, really love the platform, you can upgrade again to $10 a month for 100 products at a time. But those are the only fees that we charge.
Hmm. So whereas some marketplaces have a fee if something's sold, right? And so they may not have as many fees on the front end, but then charge fees when it's sold. Yours is one where they can start for free, but if they upgrade to that $5 a month plan, then essentially they can have more items. And so yours is really item based, it
Yeah.
sounds like, in terms of the total number of items that a shop can have, for those different fee sets. So everybody's got a little different model, so that's an interesting model. And nope, they don't pay any Stripe fees or payment fees, or how does all that stuff work?
So there is a Stripe payment processing fee,
Mhm,
and that is it. That doesn't
mhm.
go to our platform though. That just
Right.
pays for the
That
product.
just goes to Stripe. Right. That's just netted out. I think everybody kind of knows, hey, transaction fees, credit card fees, that stuff just netted out, so that comes out. But you don't get paid, like even on the free tier. So if they sell, you don't really get anything. It just they
No.
pay out any of the basically interchange fees paid for the Stripe payments, and then that's it. And the rest of it they get to take home. So it sounds like a pretty nice model if you want to try it, or for people that either aren't on marketplaces or don't have websites. If you're on Etsy only, it sounds like you can be a nice kind of gentle way into starting to create your own thing,
Yeah.
at the start. So now, one of the biggest challenges with marketplaces, they're very challenging because you have a two-sided problem,
Yeah.
right? And I always want to be honest with people about, hey, it's a challenge for marketplaces because they're always trying to drum up buyers for you, and between timing things and finding buyers and sellers. Is there anything you can share about things that people that are listening or watching this might find interesting about your process for how you go about finding buyers and sellers for your marketplace?
So how we find sellers is, very straightforward, right? We are trying to grow through word of mouth, right? We want to limit the amount we spend on ads for attracting new sellers. So we provide the best customer service we can. We try to increase the amount of sales that vendors are getting as much as we can. And we make it really easy for sellers to link their socials and sort of grow their reach through our platform. And
Mhm.
we hope that through that, other sellers will just naturally find us because hopefully people will be praising about how much they love selling on My Community Made, and that will be our growth engine. For finding buyers, some of the things that we do that's a little unique compared to other platforms is we sync with Google Merchant, Facebook, Pinterest, as many different platforms as we can. And then we bulk advertise those products using our ad spend. So we will put some money behind products that are inside that product sync so that we can get new sellers coming into the platform. We also have a newsletter that we run every week that shows the new products that have been listed on the platform. We have socials. We are always posting about our vendors' products on as many social platforms as we can. And part of our strategy too is we provide those SEO tools for our sellers, right? So we're really trying to benefit from organic search traffic as well. So we talk to our sellers through the sellers group that we have. We let them know how to improve their SEO so they can increase their traffic through that.
Mhm. So can you speak a little bit more to this, some of these integrations, because everyone won't necessarily have heard about some of this before, right? And connecting to some of the Google Merchant listings and connecting to some of these other things. Could you explain for someone that doesn't have experience with what does that mean actually happens from a practical perspective from your marketplace and how that's connected so that people go, oh, or they might recognize it when they see it. If they're searching to be like, oh, that's what they're doing. So could you explain a little bit more about kind of what that means, being part of that Google Merchant and some of those systems?
Definitely. So, as a lot of us know, a lot of these platforms want to sort of be the one stop shop for everything a user does. And in order to be that type of platform, one of the number one things they have to do is sort of integrate shopping as a behavior that you can do through their platform. So, for Google, the idea is that you might go to a marketplace to look for a product, but they'd really like it if when you search for something that you can find it without having to leave Google search. So we sort of comply with that. We don't want to compete against that system. We give them the data they're looking for. So what we do is we export every single product that's for sale on the site on a daily basis, and we give Google all of the information it needs to list that product on Google. So if you're selling handmade jewelry, we put that handmade jewelry product into Google search engine, and then Google will display that product to people that are also looking for handmade jewelry so that instead of having to leave Google to go buy that product, the user's given exactly what they're looking for and can complete the purchase through Google if they want.
Hmm.
Right? And that's the same for the Meta advertising, for the Pinterest advertising. We're giving them that data so that they can supply their users with the search results that the user's looking for without that user having to leave their platform. And for us, it generates a lot of inbound traffic because those users, if they do find a product they're interested in, will click on it and then show up on our platform to finish buying the product.
Hmm. And so, if someone uses My Community Made, essentially what you're saying is it's not just set up on the platform and everyone they push to, it also is going to then push those listings to Google, to Facebook, to Pinterest through some of their shopping platforms. So they get the extra lift of you showing up in those other places based on the dollars that are based on what you're already pushing to these other platforms.
Exactly.
So it's kind of a four for the price of one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
And
love
that's
it.
our goal, right? Increase as much traffic as possible. Something
Right.
that's kind of interesting about our platform too is that because we don't charge the transaction fees, we don't actually care where the purchase takes place, if that makes any sense. So
Mm.
we think of ourselves as marketers rather than just a selling platform, right? We
Huh.
really want to grow your brand as much as possible. So we show your socials so that if users want to buy directly from you, they can. We make it really easy for you to sort of build up your own following. And there's really no reason to leave the platform because even if you made your own site, you could actually list your products as external products on
Mhm.
My Community Made and still benefit from that marketing reach.
Mhm. Yeah, so it's just a different kind of solution, and everyone's looking at everybody's business is a little different. Their context is different, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, well, I really need something that sort of fits this niche," especially if you're small and you're just getting started and you're thinking, "Oh Lord, you want me to send things how many places and create things to go how many different places?" It can be overwhelming. But then when you look at platforms that can do more than one thing for you, now you're starting to talk about some efficiencies essentially that you're trying to capture for the customer by pushing that information to different places. So now, From your perspective, I like this is going to be a fun question. What makes a good product listing?
Number one,
Subjective, not objective. So go for it. From your end, what makes a good product listing?
I can say from experience, the number one thing is your images. You know, people are visual shoppers, even more so when it comes to art or handmade products, and they really want to see your craftsmanship. So, getting
Hmm.
the highest resolution image you can and throwing it up on the website is exactly what you need to do. I would say that's the most important for every site, though. You know, so for my community made, it's no different than Etsy or any other site. You need to have the best quality product images you can.
Hmm.
Having a nice descriptive title too that's not too long is very important. You
Okay.
know, because you can control your SEO metadata, you don't need to throw every keyword into the title. It doesn't benefit anyone, right? We want nice, attractive titles that are human readable, and then we add those keywords in the SEO.
Okay. Perfect. So now, what advice would you give artisans if they are looking at a marketplace to know if that marketplace fits for them? How should they think about, okay, how do they know what marketplace is going to be a good place for them to sell?
Yeah, so my thought process is to always look at the incentives of that marketplace, right? So the fee structure will tell you a lot about how you can expect to be treated, right? So
Okay.
with a high transaction volume and low cost to entry, that tells me that the platform is going to optimize towards transaction volume, right? It's about how many sales can we make in a day, which means their customer support might be really good for customers, but for vendors, you're not quite as important, right?
Hmm.
Versus if you look at a marketplace that is geared towards a monthly cost from vendors rather than a transaction fee, well, that platform, in order to survive, has to have a low churn, right? So their job is really to support vendors, to make sure that you don't cancel your subscription, because at the end of the day, that's how their business operates. So I like to think about, if I'm deciding to start a new handmade business, which platform would I choose? I'm going to be looking at the fee structure and sort of trying to figure out which one is optimized for my growth, rather than, something that might hurt my type of business.
Hmm. Excellent advice. So now, how do people apply to sell on My Community Handmade? How do they follow you on socials? Speak a little bit more about that application process, what that looks like.
So our process is really simple. You can go right to our website. You can click to open up an account. All you need is just to have a valid address within the US, and your account will be created right away. Then you just subscribe to whichever tier you're interested in using, whether that be the free tier or the paid tier. And then you are cleared to start selling.
Hmm.
Very simple process, takes about 5 minutes.
Ah, excellent. Now, how do people find you on social media if they would like to follow and kind of see what the scoop is, snoop a little bit more?
Yeah, well, we're everywhere. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, LinkedIn. So you can find us, My Community Made, pretty much on every social platform that you use.
Hmm. And now, the final question that I'm saving for last in all these interviews. And again, totally subjective, what is the coolest item you have ever seen sold on your marketplace?
So I actually couldn't pick one. I have a
Oh,
couple that I found really
all
interesting.
right, all right. Okay, few coolest items. Go for it.
Few coolest. So one of my favorites, they've actually been selling on the platform for a while, is PVC animals. So they
Okay.
actually sell digital downloads for making like these really complex and interesting looking animals out of PVC pipes, right? So
Oh,
very
cool.
affordable materials, and you can buy their plans, and they tell you everything about what you need to purchase, what colors to use, and you can construct these really cool looking animals. It's a great project for families or just to do yourself for fun. So they've been selling on the site for a while. They've been doing pretty well, and I love their product. One of my other favorites is called Curvy Birdies, and they make these like curvy birdhouses. They're
Ooh.
interesting. Yeah, I love them. I'll have to send you a photo of them because they're great.
Between the curved birdhouses and the PVC animals, it sounds like there's some pretty fun stuff going
But
on.
there's a lot of fun stuff. That's the best part of the job is I get to moderate the products.
Mhm. Sometimes the most fun is actually seeing what people send you. I find the same thing as the magazine, like, oh, that's really cool. And then you end up down the rabbit hole looking at all the really amazing things that people make.
Yeah, yeah, and we love to be able to talk about it. We
Mhm,
like to share it to our socials and let people know that these products exist and they're handmade.
mhm. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Any last words that you would like to share with our audience before we wrap up?
No, I don't really have anything.
I surprised him with that one. Well, you've heard where to find him. My community handmade, and it's all handmade products. And so, if you're interested, looking for some new places to get set up for shop, particularly some of those categories we talked about that have been selling well, now you know what to go check out. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today.